DC Multiverse!
What is up, super friends? Welcome back to my channel. Today, why don't we have a look at the Superman Atomic Skull 2-pack from McFarlane Toys. Now this bad boy is one that I'm sure a lot of us who are Superman fans are really stoked about, and that's because not only do we have the opportunity to add Atomic Skull to our Superman Rogues gallery, but we also have a semi-new Superman action figure. Okay, he's not new, he's a complete repaint, but this one is worth the money. Now just to back up for a few seconds, I want to take just a moment to look at the packaging. And you know what? It's your typical McFarlane standard packaging, except for this one doesn't have a window in the front. That means you don't actually have the chance to make sure that the figures on the inside have neat paint apps. You just kind of get what you get. As you can see, these guys come in that bubble like, you know, they always do. However, those of you at home that might be saying, well, Todd's trying to save the environment by not having the window in the front, because it's like Hasbro did it, and I would say, poppycock! If he was going to get rid of the window, why wouldn't he also get rid of the bubble? Anyway, doesn't matter. All out of the package, you can see that these figures come with a purple Atomic Skull fiery base, an Atomic Skull, and a Superman trading card each. We've already seen this trading card, so it's a reuse. And they both come with another set of interchangeable hands. Atomic Skull's got the battle hands, and then he's also got the basic hands. While Superman comes with 2 flight hands, which is very cool, and the same old fist and 1 grabby hand. I've said it before, and I will say it again. Why in the name of sweet Jesus does this guy come with an open hand? He has nothing to grab. Anyway, the figures themselves are actually really cool. Atomic Skull, you might think, oh, it's just a bunch of reused parts from Lex Luthor, but he's not actually. Let's take a closer look. The lower legs, the feet, the knees, the groin area, the chest guard armor, and the lower arms are not parts of the original Luthor figure. Technically, the back is exactly the same, but this is the digital age, and they resculpted the front. Freaking cool looking figure. I mean, really, I really love the look, the dark and the lighter purple, and that head sculpt for Atomic Skull, that looks awesome. This is fantastic. It's a great reuse of parts, while also resculpting the necessary new parts to make this figure look original enough. And then we have Supes, a figure that I'm sure a lot of you are very excited about because they've gone back to the old Action Comics 1000 Superman body buck. I'm aware that there are a lot of Superman fans out there who never really liked the larger body buck that was used because they felt like it was just too bulky. And while I still really do like the beefier body buck, it is nice to see a return to the more slender original Action Comics 1000 body. If you haven't already been able to tell by now, this one has been painted a much lighter, I would say more current comic book accurate tone of blue, and in comparison to the first Superman, it's a lot brighter. The reds, blues, and yellows all pop on this guy in comparison to the previous one. And it is nice that they decided to forego the shiny S from Action Comics 1000 and actually paint this just a nice solid bright red. And though this face sculpt has been used multiple times, I feel like the skin tone on the current one is definitely the best, and I also appreciate the hair the most. I've got all 3 of the major uses of this head sculpt sitting side by side in one shot, and I feel like they all have their strengths and weaknesses. And also the cape on this figure, in comparison to the first release, is actually just a little bit softer. So there's just a little bit more give. So that's all of the stuff that I really liked about this Superman figure. The brighter red, blue, and yellow, the non-shiny S, the skin tone is majorly improved. However, there are a few changes that they could have made to this body buck to make it an even better use of the original Action Comics 1000. Things that weren't so popular with the previous one. Like the big, round, ugly, ball joint ankles.
That's a peddling.
Many folks weren't and will not be happy with the fact that this is just a single jointed Soupy.
That's a peddling.
And he still doesn't have an S on the back of the cape.
Oh, you better believe that's a peddling.
Other than that though, I do think that he's a very good figure. And you know what? he is going to look fantastic posed alongside really any of your DC figures, but especially with your more classic looking DC figures. And I know there's going to be those out there that you wanted to see this, so this is this Superman body in comparison to the Hush. I know a lot of folks you out there are like, hey, can you swap the parts? I know that it's not looking like it under the light, but I promise you the Hush is just a little bit more rich than what this one has been painted. I suppose that's maybe another gripe of mine, is that this fellow wasn't sculpted in the blue plastic that he should have been, but rather he was painted, which, if you ask me, that's a step backwards. It just makes him more susceptible to paint rub. Now, I'm just quickly going to go through their articulation together to see what they do and don't have, because there are a lot of new parts on this one, so I just want to see exactly what we're getting here. Well, Atomic Skull's head is actually, that's quite movable. Shoulder pauldrons, of course, they're definitely getting in the way a lot, but that's just what it is, I guess. I mean, they're just gonna do that. That's what it is. We're gonna have 360, double jointed. We have the wrists. We know what all they're gonna do, and the waist. We know what that's gonna be like. I don't really have to show it all. Just the parts that that I'm wondering about, and I'm sure some of you like. That's pretty good. That's more roundy motion than I was expecting, for sure. And double jointed knees that crunch up nicely with the new calves there, the rounded hinge on the ankle, the pivot, and the toe. Not too bad. That's all right. You know, I think the only real problem with this guy's articulation, I would say, if you're really a hound for articulation, it's the arms, you know, and that's always a trade-off. If you want big pauldrons, sometimes the pauldrons have to be attached to the suit. You cannot attach them to the shoulder so they spin with it. And this is one of those cases where I think they made the right call design-wise. And yeah, you're going to take a little bit of a hit with its articulation. As far as Supes goes, I mean, we have seen this 6 ways from Sunday. We know what he can and cannot do. The hair is exactly the same as the last one, so it does, when you try to get him into a flight pose with that head sculpt. Oh, I just pulled mine off. I just pulled it right off. Okay, the hair is going to get in the way somewhat, but we all know that there's ample articulation with the head and the torso to get him into a good flight pose. We have the shoulders going up into a nice T with the sockets there, biceps on that 360 swivel, single jointed elbows, like he's putting his hands up, like he's under arrest. And that's really all you're going to get from those elbows. Then we have, of course, the whole full torso and Supes. I mean, it's all right. It could be worse. We have, okay, well, this is, you know, that stinks, as usual. McFarlane groin. Double jointed knees that crunch up nicely for flight poses, though. And, of course, the big, nasty, round, ugly ball hinge that does articulate quite well and also give us that rocker motion, spinny, and toe. So what do I think about these guys? Honestly, I love the 2-pack. I love the new Superman. I love the colors. For a lot of you, this will be your definitive Superman, without a doubt. And as far as having Atomic Skull, like I said, I'm always happy to have more Superman rogues. And it's also nice that he's not really a huge, well-known Superman villain. You have to really be a Superman fan and someone that reads comics fairly frequently to even know who this guy is. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think anyone has ever made an Atomic Skull action figure before. This may be the first one, but yeah, I definitely enjoyed this 2-pack. If you are someone who was on the fence about it, hopefully my review helped you make a better decision, and I will see you with the next one. Have a DC day, everybody, and take care.